teacher's unfortunate experience in South Korea. They say the mountains of rural South Korea are haunted. This story, passed down from my father, might make you believe it. I've shared it around campfires, always with a shiver down my spine. Now, I will share it with you. Get ready. This is no ordinary ghost story. When my father was in middle school, he attended a small school in a remote village. He's 56 now, so this happened long ago. Back then, South Korea was poor and undeveloped, with scattered villages across mountains. People walked through dense forests and along unpaved roads. There was no electricity, so they relied on daylight, moonlight, and fire. This tale involves my father's teacher, Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim lived in another village 4 hours across the mountain range. His routine was strict, waking up at 4 a.m. to reach school by 8 a.m., teaching all day, and then walking home before dark. He always stuck to his schedule to avoid traveling in the night. Mr. Kim's usual route wound around the mountains, passing through villages, but there was another path, a narrow, dangerous trail that cut straight through the mountains. It halved the travel time, but villagers warned of wild animals and restless spirits. The path was dark and eerie, sending shivers down anyone's spine. One night, Mr. Kim stayed at school until midnight. He had no choice but to take the dangerous shortcut. He guarded his things, locked the school doors, and stepped into the night. The moon cast an eerie glow as he entered the field leading to the forest. Most would be terrified of a 2-hour hike through pitch-black mountains alone, but Mr. Kim, determined and familiar with the thrill, pressed on. He focused on the ground before him, following the narrow path with quick, steady steps. As he reached a straight section of the path deep in the mountains, something caught his eye. A faint, white light in the distance. It looked like a star resting on the ground, an odd sight in the middle of nowhere. At first, he dismissed it as a reflection of a trick of the moonlight, but as he drew closer, the light grew larger and more defined. His dread grew. Before I continue, I want to tell you something from my own experience. I love to camp and have spent many nights in the forest. Up in the mountains, true darkness is all-encompassing. You see only two colors, a deep blue and an unforgiving black. Any form of light, even hundreds of feet away, stands out starkly. This is the kind of darkness Mr. Kim faced that night. There, illuminated by the moonlight, sat a woman. She looked to be her early 30s, dressed in a traditional Korean white robe, her long black hair cascading on her ankles. Her eyes were wide open with black pupils centered, and her ghostly wide smile twisted into a disturbing cartoonish expression. She sat hunched over on a boulder by the path, staring directly at him. Mr. Kim froze. His blood turned into ice. The woman began to pick up small pebbles from her left hand, tossing them onto the path in front of her, then looking back at him without changing her terrifying grin. The silence was deafening. Every fiber of Mr. Kim's being screamed to run, but he knew he had to pass her to get home. Shouting at her did nothing. She remained silent, unblinking. Gathering every ounce of courage, he walked forward, heart pounding, each step heavy with fear. As he passed her, he felt an almost unbearing terror, his legs threatening to give way. Just when he thought he was safe, he glanced back. The woman was now standing in the middle of the path, 8 feet tall, her feet floating 2 feet above the ground. She floated towards him, still tossing pebbles, her gaze fixed on him. Mr. Kim ran faster than he ever had. His breath raged, the path blurring beneath his feet. He never looked back. The next day, he told his students about the encounter. My father was one of them. Some were skeptical, but most believed he had seen a ghost. In Korean culture, a demonic woman clothed in white is a harbinger of death. Ghosts and demons are part of Korean folklore, and I have no doubt that Mr. Kim witnessed the night was a true brush with the paranormal.